What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. Now, a couple weeks back, I was contacted by Joseph Williamson from the Williamson Management Company and asked if I would do a review on their independent horror film from 2023 called Beneath Us All. So that is what we're going to dive into today. So let's take a quick look at what Beneath Us All is all about. Beneath Us All is a 2023 indie horror film directed by Sean Whalen and written by Brett Miller. It stars Sean Whalen, Maria Olsen, Jan Birch, Sean Whalen, Katie Whalen, and Angelina Danielle Kama. Julie, played by Angelina Danielle Kama, finds a pendant buried in the forest with connections to an ancient vampire who ends up terrorizing a small town in Maine while feeding on the locals.
Who keeps this place?
Why didn't you come home?
Something in the woods. There is no man living in the woods. It is simply not true.
There was this feeling like I was bringing something bad back with me. I don't want to go in there.
I need fresher meat.
Free?
The more I feed, the stronger I get.
I don't want to be here.
You can't save everyone.
Stop it!
So, I got a lot of things to say about this flick. For starters, if you look it up on IMDb, it's currently rated as a 5 out of 10. And I think that's a little low. I wouldn't go a whole lot higher than that. Maybe a 6 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. But this does seem to be a love or hate type of film. A lot of people reviewed it and gave it high praise. And there's also a lot of people that rated it very, very low. And I think the ones that rated it low, I don't think that's fair. It didn't do themselves justice. The movie's not as bad as a lot of the naysayers make it out to be. In fact, it actually got like 23 awards and another 9 nominations throughout various types of film festivals in 2023. So some of the good is, well, you can start with the cast. The cast is pretty solid. You've got a lot of good players in there. Maria Olsen, who's not been in a whole lot of stuff, but has made herself very well known, especially in the horror community. Jan Birch, very good as well. Plus you have Sean Whalen, which we've all seen Sean Whalen in something. He's one of those actors that, you don't know their name, but you see them and you're like, I like that guy. I've seen him in a lot of stuff. In fact, if there was like a Mount Rushmore of like that type of actor, like, hey, I've seen that guy in something, it would be like Sean Whalen, Lachlan Monroe would be number 1, Tim Blake Nelson, and like Bruce McGill. They would be like the Mount Rushmore of actors that you've seen 100 times, you don't know their names, and you don't know exactly what you've seen them in, but you know you like them. If you don't believe me, look them up. But moving on, the cast was very good. It was a very good cast. They portrayed the characters very well. And it actually had a semi-compelling storyline that I'm going to get into in a little bit. It's very interesting. This is one of those films that, Brett Miller wrote a really good drama and a not so great horror film. And when you combined them together, I don't want to say it fell flat, but it excelled in certain places where I don't think they expected it to, and then it didn't excel for me in the horror aspect. Plus, there's a lot of continuity errors and just a lot of subplots that are left kind of unexplored or even unexplained. Beginning with the start of the movie takes place, 912 AD, Jan Birch's character, Frey, is being pursued after, killing a young child. And, it's never really explained that he's necessarily a vampire. It just is kind of on the premise that you as the viewer already know that he's a vampire and you're already familiar with vampire lore, which I can respect sometimes in certain movies when, you don't necessarily need an origin story for things like that. But the character in and of itself, I think, needed a better origin story and a better explanation of who he was, what he was. But you fast forward to modern day where Julie finds this stumbles upon really this buried pendant that has a connection to Frey and kind of brings him back into the modern day age and, you know, hides him out, semi feeds him, semi lets him feed on her, which then creates a more psychic connection between the two. And that aspect of the movie, I think that's what, you know, it seems like that's what they kind of, that's their bread and butter, is the horror type stuff. And it wasn't executed as well as the drama. On the other side of the spectrum, you have this really good drama that really played out pretty well. You know, Julie's also a foster care child who's getting ready to turn 18, so she's getting ready to go out into adulthood. She's not necessarily going to be in the foster care system anymore. Sean Whalen is this, you know, abusive foster care father that has these gambling issues and trying to make ends meet. And then Maria Olsen is the, you know, the foster mom, and she's dismissive and not, you know, really emotionally available for Julie or any of the other kids for that matter. And it's weird because you have, like I said, on this one side of the spectrum, you have this really good drama that plays out with complex social issues, and then you mix in this horror aspect with this vampire creature, and it just didn't bode well in that aspect. I think if they would have concentrated on the drama or the horror, they could have made a brilliant film in either capacity. I found myself more vested into the drama side with this, you know, foster family and the caretakers, the kids, that, and Katie Whalen, the lady, you know, playing basically the foster care agent, I guess, however you want to put it. I don't know what they're exactly called, but, you know, she's trying to meet with Julie and like, hey, let's help you get into college. Let's look at possibly getting you a job, you know, in that aspect. Plus there's a subplot there with Katie Whalen's character getting, you know, possibly a new job in Washington, D.C., moving up the chain. And that kind of gets unexplored a little bit once things start happening. And I can kind of get that. It kind of gets set aside, but it would have been, as a drama, it would have been a little bit more interesting to see how that storyline would have played out. So all in all, the movie's not as bad as a lot of people say. It's also not as good as some other people say. I do think a 5 out of 10 is rated a little bit low because not only was the casting good, but the acting was actually really good as well. The girl that plays Julie, Angelina Danielle Kama, did an amazing job being Julie in this film, you know, as the teenager getting ready to go into adulthood. She's also got this abusive foster father that she's dealing with, also while trying to, you know, nurse this vampire creature back to health, and then ultimately it turning against her. A lot of complex issues there for a young actress to take on, and she did it really well. Sean Whalen is, like I said, he's solid in everything he's done. You've seen him in 100 things, you just don't know it. Maria Olsen, like I said, she hasn't been in a whole lot of stuff, but every time she's been in something, she's been very, very good at it. And Harley and Katie Whalen married in real life, so that helps their on-screen chemistry, which obviously was very well. But both of their characters, he plays a very good, you know, kind of distinguished older detective on his way out the door. Katie Whalen's kind of up and coming, you know, and he's kind of the mentor looking out for her, offering her the job. So the execution and acting was very well done. Really, honestly, where the film failed, I like I said, was the horror aspect. You know, the special effects, there's a lot of fog in this movie. The lighting is kind of weird at times. There's a lot of, the body count is like 10, but you don't necessarily see a whole lot of blood and gore as far as an attack goes. Usually they're relatively quick, or you don't see them at all in the cases of the children. Don't want to spoil that too much, but you should watch the movie to find out. I will say, though, towards the end of the movie, when Frey does his full transformation into this vampire bat-like creature, the prosthetics is really well done. I don't know if it was full prosthetics or if it was a mask, but he looked freaking cool. He looked badass. And I would have, like I said, if they would have explored that more wholeheartedly versus the dramatic foster parent side, you know, this movie could have been really good in either direction. You know, it kind of reminds me of the movie The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot, which I've talked about on a podcast. I've never done a video on it. But if you watch that movie is a very, very good war drama. Would have been an Oscar-nominated movie if they would have stuck with that. But in the middle of it, they do this paradigm shift from this war-torn veteran from World War II to having to go kill Bigfoot. And I understand the artistic value and what the director and writer was trying to convey in the film, but again, it was a poor execution. Had they concentrated on one story or the other, it would have been really good. It reminds me of Shark in Venice, which I talked about last year with the guys over at Compelled by Schlock. Shark in Venice was a very good, or could have been a very good, like, National Treasure type movie, or it could have been a very good shark movie, but they mixed the two storylines and it kind of becomes a bit messy. And that's unfortunately what happened here. They did a really, really good job with the dramatic side of this film, and I was very much invested in that. And then they tried to add in this horror aspect, and it almost seemed like an afterthought, like, hey, we're concentrating a lot on this. What about the vampire creature that we're supposed to be bringing? And it kind of seemed like an afterthought. And I feel like if they would have concentrated on one or the other, they would have made a great movie in either capacity. But when mixed together, I'm not going to say it's a bad movie because it wasn't, but it could have been a little bit better than it was. So there you have it. Beneath Us All from 2023. Not as good of a movie as some people say. Definitely not as bad as a lot of people are saying. And I do give it a solid 6.5 out of 10 if you're going to go by the IMDb type rating system. It's currently rated as a 5. I think that's a little low. These guys put in a lot of hard work into this, and there's a lot of potential for them to do really good things moving forward. And the production company and Harley Whalen being the director, Harley Whalen, I should say, I'm getting Whalen and Whalen confused here, but Harley Whalen, you know, they've only done so many things together. I think maybe like 5 collectively, films that is like Harley Whalen. You know, he's been in a lot of things as far as an actor, but I don't think he's been in directing a whole lot of things. But there's a lot of potential for them to grow as a production company, a directing team. There's a lot of good stuff that I feel like is going to come down the pipeline from these guys. And a lot of this independent stuff is trial by fire, trial by tribulation. You learn each time you do something that's going to work a little bit better in the next movie. So I'm looking forward to what they got coming down the pipeline. And I hope it didn't discourage them too much. You know, I don't like being too cynical with independent films because I do have an understanding of how hard it can be to put something like this together. The production value, I will say, was actually pretty good. Minus some of the special effects as far as like the fog and the lighting, the production value is relatively good in this film. So I don't know what the budget was. I'm going to assume it was probably on a relatively modest budget like most independent films are. So props to them for doing probably a lot with a little. And again, the acting, spot on for all characters involved. It was really well done, especially the young children and Julie's character. So props to them. I look forward to watching more of their stuff in the future. So like, subscribe, and comment to the video. Let me know what you guys think. Has anybody seen this movie? I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on it. So leave a comment below, like, subscribe, and comment to the channel. Share the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.